Hello everyone, my name is Chris Titley and welcome to the FinTech Australia podcast. The FinTech Australia podcast takes listeners on a deep dive across the fintech industry in Australia, focusing on the challenges, opportunities and big stories our community faces. Let's get to today's episode. Hi, it's Chris Titley here as part of the FinTech Australia podcast series. I'm joined by Tim Poskitt. Tim, how are you this morning?
Hey, morning, Chris. Great to hear. Good, thank you. In sunny Sydney at a strong 37 degrees as we speak.
Not too bad here in Brizzy either. Tim, we've chatted before on a number of things, but you've got a new role at SBC, Startup Bootcamp. I'd like the listeners out there to get a bit of an understanding about your background and your past, as well as the new role that you're in.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. So yes, recently joined Startup Bootcamp earlier on this year to lead their FinTech program and FinTech charge. Before that, I've been working in around data, technology, financial services. So spending 10 years in banks in the UK, and then in and around the FinTech ecosystem in Asia Pacific, in Australia, most recently leading Investnet Yodlee's open banking business based in Sydney through Asia. But really excited to be with Startup Bootcamp, leading their FinTech innovation and accelerator program, where we are driving innovation and investing into early stage startups throughout APAC and globally.
Excellent. Now, for the listeners out there, if I reference SBC, I do mean Startup Bootcamp. I can call it one or the other, so just not to confuse people. But Tim, when it comes to Startup Bootcamp's FinTech particular fund and the cohorts, etc., can you talk about them currently and what you're doing with FinTechs within sustainability?
Yeah, great. Thanks. So firstly, Startup Bootcamp is been operating since 2010. Originally founded in Europe, in Netherlands in 2010. One of the largest accelerator and innovation ecosystem partners globally. Been operating in around the APAC region since 2017, head office in Melbourne. And with that, we invest into early stage pre-seed and seed organizations. I'll come on to the fintech part later, but just more holistically, we operate across a number of different focuses. That would be energy, cybersecurity. We do around also food tech and sports tech. My primary focus is on the fintech side, but we operate across a number of different areas. So our sustainable finance program and fund, we are currently raising a sustainable finance fintech fund at the moment, where we invest into early stage startups that are a pre-seed status, and they are global fintechs. They're not just Australian fintechs. We work very closely with Australian fintechs. We have a global focus as well. So these organizations will service the global market, but ultimately are working around sustainable finance technology and working very closely that we align with the UN sustainability goals. And they are sort of applying everything that we do when we're looking at investing into any organization.
And when it comes to adding value with this Startup Bootcamp and the particular members of the cohort, do you sort of engage with industry experts and community and help some of these founders that may have this wonderful idea but may not be as commercial or a little bit ignorant to what it is like as a startup founder?
Yeah, exactly. So we take each organization through a very structured 12-week bootcamp process. With that, our objective after that 3-month period is to take each startup to a demo day where they are investment ready and they would go on to their next round of investment. So ultimately, our full objective is to help the organization fully shape their go-to-market strategy, their MVP, their maybe some risk and compliance structures to allow them to fully develop their product as they go through. So we're really looking at, we bring in and we work very closely with industries, would it be mentors, would it be advisors, across the full cycle of a business organization structure and really helping them grow. So we bring in different people, not only locally, but globally, ultimately to help them develop their business model. And we partner with them with certain mentors. So it's really a large community where a lot of people want to give back to early stage organizations, and they really want to help these founders that have got great ideas, but they may be struggling with particular advice. Will it be finance? Will it be sales? Will it be product development? To really help them get traction through that process.
Fantastic, and it's good timing with FinTech Australia in regards to launching a new industry collaboration, which is called FinTech for Net Zero. And for those listeners out there that may not know what FinTech for Net Zero is, let me explain that. FinTech for Net Zero is a new industry collaboration to showcase and map Australian climate and sustainability-focused FinTech initiatives. Together, FinTech Australia and partners have put together a thought-provoking panel discussion and multiple company pitches to accelerate the conversation and ideas around the impact of the Australian tech sector on the environment. Motivated by the global climate emergency, FinTech Australia has committed all proceeds from every ticket purchased to understand the emissions associated at the event, collaborating with our strategic partner, Clima, who will offset the emissions associated with the event and provide attendees with the opportunity to choose which project to support. There'll be various fintechs that will pitch at that particular event, and the event is coming up in March. Startup Bootcamp is one of the partners alongside Austrade for the event. Can we talk about Startup Bootcamp's involvement and why they're involved in a particular event like this, which is the FinTech for Net Zero?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Been in around FinTech Australia, as I think we both have for a number of years, and it's really important that we get behind some of the great work that they're doing, and also some of the core founders and ideas throughout the Australian fintech ecosystem. Whilst we are a global program and have global investments, this particular cohort, which I'm happy to go into in a bit more detail, we've got over 30, nearly 40% of our founders and investors are from the Australia ecosystem. So we're really trying to invest and develop into more sustainable finance founders. With our particular fund, it's around some of the key objectives, ensuring that we achieve net zero targets. So ultimately what we're trying to do is to help give back to the ecosystem and really trying to help those next founders, develop their idea stronger through that SBC's program or broader to the ecosystem. So I think this event set up through FinTech Australia is one of the first events for Net Zero, but it's certainly a great initiative. I mean, I don't think there's a day or week go back where we don't talk through climate change, ESG, net zero objectives, not only through the broader fintech ecosystem, but I think on a daily basis when we go home and speak to our families and look at talk about the weather in Sydney today, just the impacts that we're all facing because of climate. So I think it's really there's some really great solutions through carbon tracking, decentralized ecosystem partners that we're really working with at the moment.
I must also mention the partners which I mentioned before, which is Austrade, Startup Bootcamp, and also BDO, which is hosting the event. So the event is on Tuesday, March the 12th at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Which I'll share details at the end of the podcast in regards to registration. But the FinTech Australia members, Clima, Slyp, Good4B, and FootprintLab will be presenting and speaking on the panel. Tim, I'd like to talk about the sort of FinTech for good, and we've touched on this before in regards to the intertwine of money, which can be seen in different aspects across the world, from payments to decentralization to buy now, pay later, to lending, etc. But then adding that element of good on it, but also good for the environment. How, in someone's mind, can I think about money being good for the environment, or different ways that fintechs can operate, which can support particular targets and particular thresholds around the environment?
Yeah, great. And maybe the best way to do this is to talk through some of maybe the organizations that we've invested in and that are part of our first cohort. So as part of the program, we have three cohorts. We're currently coming to the end of our first program, of our first cohort. That's cohort 1. And we're in the process of beginning to start recruiting for cohort 2, which will begin later on in the year. So again, if anyone's interested in that, please do reach out to me or Startup Bootcamp team to look through our for the further programs. So I think, for example, we've got 10 organizations, as I mentioned, 4 in the Australian, New Zealand environment, and some across Europe. I mean, for example, we have a business that we are investing, which is Do Good People. They're an ESG platform that basically tracks your ESG and carbon footprint to organizations. So it's a B2B software that allows you to track your qualitative ratings and framework, and also usage.
Yeah, right.
So I'm really trying to put back, I suppose, the employer to really try and understand how their employees are consuming. So that's, for a great example. We've also got some wealth tech and robo advisory businesses. One of the organizations is Inarm, based in Melbourne, Australia, which is really trying to invest their money for impact. And when we all have particular investments that we may make, but how do we invest correctly and properly that we actually know where our money is going? So are we investing into something that we're passionate about, and also that we get, I suppose, clear transparency around where that is going? So we have a great business in Arm that's doing that. We also have for example, a really exciting agri-tech business coming out of Africa, which we're really excited about, which is really trying to help bridge the gap between agriculture and financial services. And they're really trying to bring a really great way to that, to help regional farmers actually have financing solutions to them. So they're just 3 of a 10 maybe a cohort, which probably don't have time to go into each business, but for the full brief on each organization, we can reach out to us and to find out what each company is doing.
Yeah, that's fascinating in regards to, like, I was thinking more on like a B2C level, but then from the B2B level, if you can make businesses that are more productive and move faster in regards to helping a crisis, whether it is on a food crisis or helping reduce emissions, etc., then that's where some of the exciting stuff from fintechs will happen. Tim, one final question, just in regards to 2023 was a bit of a rough year for fintechs here in Australia. We've got the funding numbers out recently, and it sort of took us back a couple of years, but we did have a couple of peak years which put us ahead. How are you feeling, broadly speaking, in regards to the fintech sector here in 2024?
Yeah, I think it's 23 was hard across the board. I think a lot of organizations have scaled back from early stage businesses to tier one, fintechs, for example. Look at some of the payments organizations, how they, I suppose, like that. I think 24, and have a look at all the predictions that people have been reading and writing about, it's really about core focus and developing products and trying to drive towards a profitability figure that allows that fintech to grow further. I think I think the only way, not the only way is up, but I think it's a sense of that, there are a lot of things going out there. The Australian ecosystem is certainly, always says it punches above its weight for certain sides of the market. I think globally, I think there's certainly maybe less focus from global geographies coming into Australia. I think we've certainly seen that. Would it be a VC corporate venture fund coming out of the US or Europe, maybe pulling back, or it might be a multi-corporate, looking to invest in certain areas, maybe reducing back. But I think there's certainly lots of great. You've only got to look around, open banking, which I've been working around for I know pretty well for a number of years. That's growing. The broader account-to-account payment ecosystem, and then also I think lots of broader solutions across the. You talk about a food crisis, and you talk about the energy crisis. Yep. Everyone is feeling a pinch at the moment, and I think there's a number of great solutions around that are looking to solve for that. So we just hope everything trickles from there.
That's right, and also the importance of networking, which I'll get onto in a second, with the FinTech for Net Zero event coming up, which is on Tuesday the 12th of March, 4 to 6 p.m. The partners Austrade, Startupbootcamp, BDO, and also Stone and Chalk. To get your tickets, you just log on to the FinTech Australia website to download them. I think they're priced at $18 for that particular event, which will be a showcased event with various startups, including Slyp, FootprintLab, and Good for Bees speaking and learning more about industry education in and around about what is happening with climate and the climate crisis that is going on. So make sure you get there. Tim, I look forward to catching up with you in person at some point in time, hopefully in Sydney or in Brisbane. And we look forward to seeing what Startup Bootcamp is doing within the broader ecosystem, particularly with this recent cohort.
Great. Thanks, Chris. And if anyone's interested in getting involved in the program, please reach out to me. It's an expanding program and we are really excited about the year ahead. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for listening to the FinTech Australia podcast. I'm your host, Chris Titley. The FinTech Australia podcast is a collaboration between FinTech Australia and Sub 11. For more information about membership options, news and the events coming up, jump on to the FinTech Australia website. Have a great day. Thanks for listening and we'll catch you next time.